Spain. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, you're watching State of the Nation on GB News with me, Alex Armstrong. On tonight's show, the vilification of young, disadvantaged, white working-class boys keeps raging on, and I'm sick of it. They deserve a real defence, one they should hear loud and clear on national television, one only this channel is bold enough to say out loud. Meanwhile, illegal migrants are being offered discounts to smugglers by posting TikToks of their channel crossing when they come to the UK. So much for smashing the gang, say Keir Starmer. And as a leaked report into Net Zero finds that it will crash the economy, we'll be having a head-to-head on whether it's time to ditch Net Zero. Plus, as a 140-year-old prep school closes because of Labour's VAT hike, I'll be speaking to one of the parents who's been left outraged by this decision. State of the Nation starts now. I'll also be joined by my panel tonight, Conservative MP Andrew Rosendale and political commentator Kieran Andrew. As ever, let me know your views, gbnews.com/your say, and you can reach out to us on X at GB News as well. But now it's time for your news bulletins with Tatiana Sanchez.
Alex, thank you very much. The top story, Sir Keir Starmer says the time for planning is now when it comes to a peace deal for Ukraine during a visit to a military base in London. During that visit, Sir Keir Starmer praised the personnel for their bravery and commitment. He said there must be a defended deal to end the Ukraine war with security arrangements in place to ensure it's upheld. The Prime Minister also warned any peace deal without anything behind it is something the Russian president will breach, adding Vladimir Putin would face severe consequences for breaching a future ceasefire deal. The Prime Minister, when asked if Russia breaching a future ceasefire in Ukraine could draw UK troops into the conflict, said the point of these security arrangements is to make it clear to Russia there will be severe consequences if they breach a deal. Well, speaking exclusively to GB News' political editor Christopher Hope, Kemi Badenoch says she does not think British troops should be on the ground in the Ukraine conflict. She warned there's no blank cheque for the Prime Minister.
Just turn to Ukraine. Lots of GB News viewers concerned about this. You said you want a consensus in the House of Commons on boots on the ground, British boots on the ground. Is that a vote of MPs before that can happen?
I think that a vote would be very helpful to know exactly what it is we're voting for. What is it we're giving consent to? I told the Prime Minister that I was not giving him a blank cheque. Ideally, we should not be having any boots on the ground. What is the situation that's going to be if it does happen? Will the US be supporting us, for example? How many people? What happens if they get attacked? Are we then in direct conflict? There's so many questions. So it's not about just making an announcement, oh, we'll put boots on the ground. These are lives of young British men and women. We need to look after them. We can't just send them all around the world just because we want to tell a story or make an announcement.
President Zelensky says a series of Russian airstrikes show Vladimir Putin's recent statements suggesting he's ready for a ceasefire are propaganda. Zelensky's been briefing European leaders on last night's call with Donald Trump, who suggested the US could take ownership of Ukraine's nuclear power plants to act as a form of security guarantee, which Zelensky has today rejected, saying all power plants belong to the people of Ukraine. The High Court has heard that Tommy Robinson was moved to a closed wing in prison after it received reports he had a mark on his head and would be killed by a lifer. 42-year-old Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, is serving an 18-month prison sentence for contempt of court after breaching an injunction. Today, his barristers told the High Court he should be allowed to bring a legal challenge over his segregation from other prisoners at HMP Woodhill in Milton Keynes, with the court told that he'd suffered an evident decline in his mental health. And former Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has been cleared in a police investigation into the SNP's finances. Speaking outside her home today, Ms Sturgeon said there was never a scrap of evidence against her and this was the outcome she'd always expected. The announcement came as her husband, ex-SNP Chief Executive Peter Murrell, appeared in court charged with embezzlement today. The probe, which has been ongoing since 2021, is linked to the spending of around £600,000 raised by SNP supporters to be earmarked for Scottish independence campaigning. Murrell resigned in March 2 years ago amid a row over party numbers. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. Why can't we just leave poor young white boys alone? Why are our political classes and mainstream media still piling in, demonising them, twisting the truth and pointing the finger at them when they're already the most forgotten and left behind group in this country? The facts simply don't lie. In almost every category, they lag behind other ethnicities. They are the most likely to lag in primary and secondary education. Only 29% of white working class lads from disadvantaged areas make it past GCSEs to A-levels. Well, let's compare that to their more affluent peers, where that pass rate more than doubles to 68%. Well, what about university, you might ask? Well, forget it. Just 13% of white boys on free school meals get there by 19. Black African kids on free school meals? Well, that jumps up to 59%. Indian kids, 57%. Yet, there are seemingly no positive discrimination programmes for those white boys, is there? There's no DEI crusade for them. And why do you think that is? But it's not just school. These boys are funnelled into dead-end jobs and more likely to end up in low-paid, insecure work, trapped in a cycle of poverty more so than any other class or ethnicity. And then what happens is they get undercut by mass imported cheap labour, don't they? And when they eventually work hard enough to go for those higher paid jobs, they're told they can't get them based on their merit because the company needed to tick a DEI box instead. Well, it's no wonder, is it, that they're more likely to commit suicide than a 45-year-old man. To top it all off, in 12 days' time, they're going to find out they'll be punished harder by the justice system because of their skin colour. The establishment call these poor kids privileged. What privilege? What, the fact that they're white? Please spare me the racism. But get this. Despite all the inequality and discrimination shown against them, they still commit less crime on average than some other ethnicities who have better outcomes and chances in life. So with all this in mind, why do you think there are no diversity, equity and inclusion programmes for them? Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think it's nothing less than anti-white racism mixed with thinly guised classism. So a note to the establishment if you're watching. Your demonisation and misconstruing of the truth of the reality for these poor young lads is only pushing them further and further towards an ideology you supposedly hate. Well, joining me to discuss this really pertinent and important topic is Conservative MP Andrew Rosendale and political commentator Kieran Andrew. Kieran, I want to start this with you because look, these stats are pretty raw. I was one of those young kids from a disadvantaged background. My family suffered quite severely. We had to live off benefits. I remember not even having a bed frame. I was on a mattress on the floor at some points in my life. Why is it that there's no DEI programmes to support those young white boys now?
Well, first things first, and I don't include you in this, Alex, based on what you've just told me, but it is pertinent to mention that many of the same political actors, media commentariat voices that are speaking up about the white working class now were 10, 15, 20 years ago demonising them as chavs, were putting them in shows like Benefits Street. And I have to be deeply suspicious of a sudden turn from the same quarters, and I have to conclude, I think, until I'm shown otherwise, that it has a lot to do with political entrepreneurialism and a lot to do with wanting to make political hay out of something which has become a live wire issue. Although I think some of the things you said are wrong, I think underpinning it is a phenomenon that...
What do you think I've said is wrong?
Well, I'll get into that now. So white working class lads in particular, since they seem to be the category under consideration, they are discriminated against, not relative, in my view, not relative to working class black kids or working class BAME kids. They're discriminated against not by DEI. DEI is fundamentally a superficial thing. They're persecuted.
But it's not superficial if businesses are literally rejecting young white working class lads because they're simply not black, brown or otherwise. That is discrimination.
You're letting the tail, in my view, you're letting the tail wag the dog. The fundamental thing that is disadvantaging white working class kids as other working class kids across this country is an economic system that ensures that when they come out of school, there's no good jobs for them. When they come out of college, there's no good jobs for them. That means that their parents are in unstable or insecure work, if any work at all, which means that their communities are desperately underfunded.
Yeah.
And when I start to hear people seriously talking about those root causes, I'll take it a little bit more seriously.
OK, Andrew, I'd love to bring you in on this. You know, you're an MP, you must see some of this poverty in your constituency, perhaps, at some points in time. Why is there no help for these young lads? What have we lost? And what do you think the Tories failed to do anything about this over the last 15 years?
Well, first of all, I think everything you said was completely correct. I agree with you. And I've seen this in my own constituency. And this has been going on a long time. This DEI, equalities, inclusion, diversity, it is divisive. It's actually harming our society.
Yeah.
It's completely counterproductive. It's incredibly divisive. And I think the whole system needs to go. There should be equal opportunity for all people. And there's no doubt the statistics you've just highlighted this evening, Alex, proves that this whole ideology that the establishment of this country have bought into, under all governments, by the way, is utterly wrong and is harming the very people we are elected to serve.
Yeah.
So I think this whole system needs to go into the dustbin, and everyone should be treated on merit, and everyone should be given the same equal chances in life.
I completely concur. Kieran, what's wrong with merit-based systems? Surely that would give everyone the fair and equal start in life that the left so advocate for.
Oh, I love a merit-based system, which is why later on when we come to talk about private schools, I'll advocate for their abolition, because I believe in merit. But I want to ask you, if you really believe in merit on this panel, if we really believe in merit and wider related issues, are we committed to closing the widening gap inequality in this country?
Well, I do want that gap closed, but I don't want it done through DEI, which is discrimination.
But Alex, are we interested in punishing, going after the roots of that inequality, which has been getting worse and worse? In my strongly held view, it's not DEI. It's landlords, it's massive landowners, it's corporations, it's billionaires who have seen their wealth skyrocket since the pandemic alone. Those are the things that are creating yawning inequality in this country and leaving those kinds of white working class communities, along with BAME working class communities, utterly behind.
Andrew, is this the fault of billionaires and wealthy people in the country?
No, not at all. It's the fault of a political class that has simply got this wrong over a very long period of time. We've been driven along by this ideology which has been promoted by the left, and it's incredibly divisive, and it needs to be washed away entirely. So the idea that a young person is treated differently because of their colour is wrong. Everybody should be treated the same. In my constituency, it is predominantly white working class, but we have people of all backgrounds. And I want all my constituents to have the same equal opportunities in life. You don't do it by DEI. DEI is achieving the opposite of that.
Yeah, well, what is it we actually need to... I mean, Kieran, in your opinion, obviously it's going to be in line with what you believe ideologically, but what is it we need to do to uplift these young working classes? Because I've got an opinion on this, but I'd love to hear what you think.
Well, I mean, also, I have to say, I sort of dispute the claim that it's going to be ideological. If you walk down streets in deprived, since we're discussing it, I'll use the term, white working class neighbourhoods up and down this country, which have been made... And by the way, I agree with you, Andrew. The political class are absolutely complicit in this. They're complicit because they've kowtowed to the billionaire class and to corporates and so on. But if you walk down streets in those neighbourhoods, you're going to see shuttered windows, boarded up town centres, main roads, etc., etc. That is incredibly damaging and depressing to the kinds of people you're talking about, far more so, along with the paucity in the jobs market, far more so than something like DEI, which, I repeat, is a fundamentally superficial player in all of this.
OK. Well, look, I mean, in my opinion, I think there has been a massive amount of demonisation of white young lads in this country. We saw that adolescence drama come out the other day, which I think is a complete and utter farce, completely distracts from the truth of what's going on in this country. And quite frankly, I'm getting relatively sick of seeing it, and white working class lads need a break in this country. But talking of breaks, after our break, Labour's government smash the gangs policy has once again been completely undermined, hasn't it? Find out in a moment how that's going. See you after the break. Thanks, guys.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
SpaceX latest Starship exploded over the Caribbean Sea.
I was wondering where it'd gone.
Yeah, debris could be seen falling back to Earth moments after the Starship launched down from Boca Chica, Texas. The rocket, of course, was unmanned. This was the 8th test flight, and it was only meant to be in the air for an hour. But, importantly, the booster for this rocket was caught with those Mechazilla chopsticks in an impressive display, the 3rd time that's happened.
Those Mechazilla chopsticks. This is Elon Musk's spaceship, isn't it?
Tell.
Starship, sorry.
Yeah.
Planetary scientist Andy Lound could tell us more about this. Andy, so was this a disaster or is this just a little obstacle to success?
Yeah, good morning. Par for the course, really. This is what kind of good afternoon. Par for the course as these things go on. The whole point of the tests, he's going to do 25 tests this year alone. And the interesting thing about this is you actually see the staging of it, where you've got the first stage, the booster, and then the second section, which is the ginormous rocket, which actually lifts off. The first stage, they seem to have got that cinched now, how it works quite well, coming back and landing in the chopsticks, absolutely breathtaking. The second stage, the Starship, was actually the new version of it, which they're testing out completely. And unfortunately, the first testing, the last test failed, and that was due to, it looks like, some frequency issues, which caused a frequency to go too high, which caused damage to the piping, which led to a fuel leak and a fire, which led to destruction. They made a lot of modifications, which led to test 8. And unfortunately, though, it has failed again. So they need to have a look at exactly what the issues are which are causing these failures.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. Well, the Labour Party promised it would bring an end to the Channel migrant crisis by smashing the gangs. But News Today has made a complete mockery of this, hasn't it? Illegal migrants are now being offered discounts by smugglers if they document their journeys on TikTok. A sort of illegal migration marketing, if you will. A normal trip would cost the average migrant anywhere between £1,500 and £6,000. But apparently, this discount could be worth as much as £2,000. Well, I'm joined now by my panel, Conservative MP Andrew Rosendale and political commentator Kieran Andrew. Andrew, I'm going to start with you on this one because, of course, you know, we can't negate the Channel crisis underneath the last Conservative government. Look, this is just getting out of hand now, isn't it? You know, this is like sort of a Tesco meal deal for migrants. They get a discount for coming over here when and literally flaunting the fact they're breaking our borders. What's going on?
Well, it's an outrage, and the last government failed to get a grip of this. But this government has completely failed.
Yeah.
We're now seeing a higher level of people coming in than ever before. It's only going to get worse, and now they're offering discounts and advertising. It's absolutely shocking.
Shocking.
And the British people have had enough. So Keir Starmer and his government, they're going to have to do something. Otherwise, they will have zero credibility. Now, they ditched the Rwanda policy.
Yeah.
The Rwanda policy had its issues, and mostly because of the ECHR, which, by the way, I think we should leave that so that we can control these things for ourselves. But you can't go on like this.
Yeah.
This is outrageous. We are actually allowing our country to be used and abused in a way that the British people are not going to tolerate for very much longer. So what's Labour going to do about it? They said they were going to smash the gangs. They failed to do it. They failed to dealing with all the issues surrounding this, and now it's getting worse.
So, yeah, Kieran, I mean, you know, this is getting ridiculous, right? It's costing the taxpayer billions of pounds. It's costing our country. It's an embarrassment for our country, really, to not be able to control our borders in such a small strip of sea. What do we need to do to stop this from continuing?
Well, first of all, just a factual correction. And I have no love whatsoever for Keir Starmer's Labour Party, but actually the year for the highest number of crossings in small boats was under the Tories. It was in 2022 and it was 46,000. So
I think there was a comparable month in February that was one of the highest since the crisis. But yes,
fair enough, but that's 1 month. Annually, the record number of crossings was 46,800 something.
At the start of the crisis.
In 2022, which was under the Tories. So let's just say that. And I want to come back to that point in a minute because this is a cross-party thing. Overall, and it probably won't surprise you, I want to reject the premise of the way that we're talking about this. And I do push back against the meal deal comparison. People going in those dinghies have had, in most cases, very, very difficult lives. And they
How do you know
are
that?
doing it. That's why I said in most cases.
Know that?
Well, because I don't know about you, Andrew, but I don't.
Assumptions.
Yeah, but sometimes it's fair to make assumptions. I don't know about you, Andrew, but I don't fancy climbing into a dinghy and crossing a freezing.
Well, why do they do it then? France is a perfectly safe country.
Well,
Italy's a safe country. Germany's a safe country. Why do they do it?
Now we're doing circular reasoning. I gave you the reason. It's because they're desperate.
But then why? So the reason for becoming a refugee and seeking safe shelter is to escape harm.
Yeah.
When you're in France, you're not at harm, are you? France isn't at war.
Yeah.
Germany's not at war.
Yeah.
Italy's not at war. So why risk your life to come to the UK?
So that's a separate point which we can come back to.
But it's not. You just said it's circular.
It's a separate point that we can come back to, but I'd just like to make this point first. 3 out of the 5 countries that produce the highest number of migrant crossings in the boats since 2018 have been either bombed or invaded by the UK and its allies since in the past 20 years.
We didn't bomb Albania.
That's why I said 3 out of the top 5. So Iraq, Afghanistan and Syria. So first of all, maybe, here's a novel idea, try bombing and invading fewer countries.
Hang on. Are you seriously saying, because...
Do you think it's coincidence?
Are you seriously saying, because rightly or wrongly, Britain did take part in military engagement in
rightly or wrongly, we just
Iraq
dismiss it like that.
And Libya and these countries. Are you seriously saying because of that, it's justifiable that these people should travel all the way across Europe, through France, in dinghies, over to the UK? You really think they're fleeing some... They're not. They're economic migrants, and they're coming here, and they shouldn't be allowed into this country. What needs to happen is a much tougher Rwanda-style policy. Anyone that tries to get into this country... How did that work out for you last time? Because of the ECHR and the Human Rights Act,
but you exist within
Labour
a legal framework.
If you come into this country illegally, you don't come in, you're sent out immediately.
OK.
That's the only policy that will work.
If I may make a few points. First of all, you have to operate within a legal framework, however much you might hate it when it suits you. So you can say, oh, that's because of the whatever acronym you want. You're going to have to operate within that framework unless you want to leave all of these organisations. Secondly, it's astonishing to me that you would say, do you really think it's connected? 3 out of the top 5 of the countries that are producing people in small boats are countries that we have invaded or bombed in the past 20 years. If you don't think that there's a causal relationship there, I'm astonished.
What about the Albanian migrants? What about the Iranian migrants?
Let me give you...
What about those? Why is it that the highest group of people is from Albania, then? If they're not fleeing war... Why are they coming in? They're coming in for the economics, aren't they? The other question I pose to you is, there wasn't mass immigration from Britain when we were bombed by the Nazis. There wasn't mass immigration from Germany, frankly, after World War II. These arguments are just faux pas. And actually, the people to blame here are those people who want to come and abuse... They're actually putting refugees at risk because they're actually...
Surely you must accept most of these people are economic migrants.
You're mediating this. You said you were going to come to me next.
Yes,
I insist that you do, and then we can come back to you, Andrew.
Go ahead.
So you've given me a lot of food for thought there. So, first of all, I'm sorry, but the Germany comparison, World War II comparison, is utterly ridiculous. Most working-age men in World War II were in other countries as soldiers. That's the first point to make. And if you want to compare the numbers of people leaving their countries during World War II to countries...
I just gave explicit examples of UK, Germany, France,
it's not, let me just... Spoiler alert, the numbers aren't going to look very good for you, right? That's the first thing. Second of all, again, I come back to my point. Oh, you mentioned Iran, right? Well, Iran has been under Western sanctions, crippling Western sanctions.
It's always our fault, isn't it, Andrew?
For 40 years. No, it's not always...
It's always our fault. They're a terrorist regime.
It's not always your fault. That's a dishonest mischaracterisation.
All I can say is
mischaracterisation of what I'm saying.
We live in a democracy. Kieran, you stand on a platform at an election with that approach, with your ideas, and see how many votes you get.
Yeah.
The British public have had enough. We are not prepared any longer to see our country have people coming in illegally, trying to become part of our country, all the benefits this country gives people, on the basis that they are fleeing persecution. Genuine people we've always taken in, but these people are not genuine. Most of them are coming here purely to benefit themselves economically, illegally entering our country, and there is no public support for this.
Right.
We have to stop it, we have to clamp down on it very quickly, because the British public have run out of patience.
Andrew, instead of filibustering, can I just make one point? You're a Tory, you're in power, and you didn't get a hold of this. And Labour aren't getting a hold of it either. So what does that say about the political class?
Guys, I'm sorry, we have to move on. That's time on that debate. Thank you both, that was very fiery. Well, another asylum-related news. An Iraqi asylum seeker was allowed to stay in the UK, get this, because a judge confused Iraq with Iran. Well, I'm joined now by immigration lawyer Shoaib Khan. Shoaib, thank you so much for joining me. What's going on here? This is going to baffle British people watching at home, isn't it?
And as it rightly should. I mean, it's quite, if it wasn't so serious, it would be quite hilarious, really. But it just shows, no one is infallible. And that's why we need appeals, we need courts, we need judicial reviews, we need ministers and judges, and everyone should be accountable for what they say. And like happened here, obviously the judge made, I would say, quite a silly mistake. But obviously it was identified and it was dealt with and rectified really quickly. And that's the whole point. That's why we have this whole hierarchy of court. So if one judge gets something wrong, the others can. But having said that, of course, this will baffle members of the public. But also we've seen ministers make silly mistakes, actually going through the Rwanda policy and somehow in Parliament,
they're democratically elected people, aren't they? They're accountable to the public, surely. It's a bit different, isn't it? Who are judges accountable to?
Well, more senior judges, like happened here. And that's the thing. They're actually more accountable because she made a wrong decision and immediately it got overturned. That's not what happens to ministers. For ministers, they make a completely disastrous decision. We have to wait 5 years and say, OK, finally we can get rid of them.
Shoaib, there's a lot of these stories coming out, people who are being allowed to stay because their kid might not like chicken nuggets in another country, for example. This is getting ridiculous. Should we just leave the ECHR and have our own Bill of Rights here that deports foreign criminals? Surely that's the sensible thing to do, right?
Well, I don't know. What's the difference going to be? I know we've been saying this. It's 2012.
Well, we can't deport foreign criminals. That's my defence.
So how is that a Bill of Rights? That's a Deportation Act then. So why we, why? Yeah. So don't say we're going to have a Bill of Rights. We basically want to do away with people's rights and say no, there's nothing replacing it. I don't think that's a sensible or humane thing to do. But of course, if that's...
Well, I think it's more humane than leaving foreign criminals on the street to attack British people, frankly, Shoaib. I think my priorities are with the safety and security of British people, not foreign criminals. Surely you can understand that, right?
Yes, I don't see what point you're trying to make there. But the point is, so many of these people, obviously a ridiculous example you give about the chicken nuggets and the child. But the point is, so many of these children and women or spouses are British nationals. So why is there no sympathy for them? Yes, fine, the father committed a criminal offence. Why is the child going to be punished and be deprived of the father for their whole life? That makes no sense.
Shoaib, thank you so much for coming on. Unfortunately, we have to move on for that now. In a moment, is the British economy on the brink of collapse because of net zero? Find out after the break what a leaked government report had to say on that. Stay tuned.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
For the time being, at least, the UK is warmer than Greece, where cold winds continue to blow. Warm sunshine in Italy, but very unsettled once again for Portugal into Spain. Spells of rain, strong winds, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in places, and an awful lot of rain as low pressure continues to dominate. That rain spreading into the south of France as well, largely avoiding Italy, where it's going to stay warm and sunny, but this cold wind continues to blow through Greece, although temperatures will recover over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Welcome back. We are going live straight to the White House as Donald Trump is imminently or currently speaking. Let's find out.
The education will be maybe many, many times better. So we look forward to this. I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers, to me, are among the most important people in this country. And we're going to take care of our teachers. And I don't care if they're in the union or not in the union. That doesn't matter. But we're going to take care of our teachers, and I believe the states will take actually better care of them than they are taken care of right now. They'll work all sorts of systems and even merit systems. Those great teachers are going to be maybe a little bit better rewarded, or maybe that's the way it should be, but the states are going to make that decision. But we're going to love and cherish our teachers along with our children, and they're going to work with the parents, and they're going to work with everybody else, and it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, and it's really going to be something special. And Linda, you're presiding over something that's so important, and you're going to do a fantastic job, just like you have your whole life. I know your whole life I've been watching you. I've been watching you for a long time. She's had nothing but success. So it's tremendous to have you, and hopefully you won't be there too long, but we're going to find something else for you, Linda, okay? So this will conclude what we are talking about with respect to our most cherished group of people, and that's our children. We want to have our children well educated. We want them to love going to school. We have examples of it. Look at those beautiful, bright-eyed faces. They are so smart. They're so smart. And with that, I'm going to come down and we're going to sign a very important document and we're going to be on our way. People have wanted to do this for many, many years, for many, many decades. And I don't know, no president ever got around to doing it, but I'm getting around to doing it. So thank you very much.
Shall I bring the panel in? Oh, well, that was Donald Trump talking about those education cuts. Gentlemen, joining me here in the studio, we've got Tom and David here. What did you make of Trump's comments there?
Well, he doesn't want to know anything, so why does he need an education department? I mean, I think this is a joke about Trump as an absolute kind of classic example of a know-nothing who wants to destroy all the people, not just on education, across the board. He's taking apart all the things that will help people understand anything in the US. That's fine. If they want to take themselves off the picture in the world, I'm not going to complain.
Well, this is quite a big thing. This was one of his big promises leading up to the election. Donald Trump was going to cut the Department of Education. He claimed it was too woke, too infested with woke ideology and among many other things. What do you make of it all?
Well, it's difficult to know, really. Education, or particularly American education, is not my specialist subject. But I think there's data to show that since that federal department was created, American education standards have fallen. So I don't think that he's anti-education. He's more cutting the federal budget and pushing responsibility for education down to the state level.
That's right.
Where previously it was successful.
This is the sort of thing that Trump enjoys quite a lot, which is getting rid of federal level things. This is something we're having in Argentina as well, I believe, with President Milei as well, cutting education departments. Did you see Keir Starmer, perhaps? You know, he's becoming quite a famous bureaucrat cutter. Do you think it's possible that Keir Starmer might cut the education department?
I don't think it's very likely he'll do it. At least Keir Starmer actually wants to know something or other.
Yes,
I think the more there is Trump is afraid of producing a lot of Americans who know more than he does.
Interesting.
Wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, interesting. Well, of course, we're going to talk about net zero, which is why you're both here. And Trump is signalling drill, baby, drill, isn't he?
Yeah.
What do we make of drill, baby, drill, Tom?
Do it if you can. I think it's very silly. I think it's very bad. I was actually speaking at a lunch today with a group of mining industry leaders and pointing out that it's actually a direct battle for the future of energy policy between the oil and gas industry and the mining industry. So Trump has to decide whether he wants to drill, baby, drill or dig, baby, dig.
Oh, interesting.
And I think...
Why not both?
Well, actually, because if climate policy fails, nobody will want to invest in either of those industries.
Well, quite interesting. David, you know, Trump's obviously very anti-net zero. We're still on a net zero agenda here. Kemi Badenoch has come out the other day and said that she doesn't see it as realistic. We've had this leaked report, which is saying there's a massive risk of potentially destabilising the financial system here in the UK, wiping off 10% of economic growth by the end of the decade. What are you making of that? Or should we be following in Donald Trump's footsteps?
In short, yes. So Trump has recognised the fundamental importance of energy to economic growth. So there's empirical evidence from our world in data that shows that countries that cut emissions most grow more slowly or even shrink. And those that are growing emissions are also growing their economies more quickly, which means that they're using more energy. And if you look in the detail of the various reports from the government itself and from the Climate Change Committee, what they're saying is, and the NESO, the National Energy System Operator, they're calling for a cut of per capita energy use by 2050. They want to cut per capita energy use in half, which takes us to countries like Brazil and Uzbekistan and Algeria, which are obviously much poorer than us. So this new government report or leak of a government report from November 23 is actually foretelling what the future of net zero is for us. And I think it's very significant that it's been released now, because apparently it was created by the business department, and I think I'm right in saying that Kemi Badenoch was the business secretary.
Interesting.
At that time. And the thing we probably need to understand is why the government didn't make more of it at the time, because it came out just shortly afterwards, just shortly after Rishi Sunak made his very sort of like timid rollback of some of the net zero commitments.
Interesting.
And then this report could have been used to sort of accelerate that, but instead they kept on the net zero path.
Well, I mean, look, going back to these pictures here, we've got Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, I believe, in that shot just there. This is obviously very typical of Trump. He has these quite big press conferences. He tries to pack the room with his friends or maybe even enemies sometimes, potential enemies. Listen, he's obviously signed this executive order. He's abolished the Department of Education. Do we expect to see more of this from Donald Trump in the future? Do you think this is just getting started almost, isn't he? He's only been in office for a couple of months.
Well, Donald Trump, if he can, will go on getting rid of anything to do with helping the Americans keep a climate that's safe. I'm not sure why you want to talk about Trump when we're here to talk about climate change.
Because it's breaking news, the audience want to hear the breaking news. But
if you want to hear breaking news about Trump, you can get some people on to talk about Trump. I'll happily talk about Trump if you want to talk about Trump.
Well, I tell you
what I'm here to do.
I appreciate that, but what I really want to, I think the audience just want to understand a little bit about this topic. So what Trump's ordered his departments to do is to end the education department. He's directed McMahon, which hopefully my producer will tell Linda McMahon, I think is the education secretary, take all necessary steps to shut down key functionalities and return education authority to the state.
Let me take you where that's going.
Yeah.
What he's done, which you haven't mentioned, is he's gutting NOAA. That's the National Ocean Administration. That's the piece that does all the weather forecasting, basic science for the weather forecasting. Okay, there are now parts of the United States, because of climate change, where you can't get home insurance. If we go on having a change in climate, then the places where you can't get insurance, the cost of insurance will go up, and the places where you can't get it will go up. And that will just go on expanding for as long as you don't do something about climate change. Now, if you don't want to do anything about climate change, you sure as hell don't need to keep NOAA. But if you want to keep an insurance industry, you better keep NOAA, because they won't be able to price risk unless they have that evidence.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, it's surely, if Trump wants to do this in a way that doesn't have so much impact on the Americans, he would perhaps stage this out a little bit less dramatically. So we've got Doge going and making these cuts left, right, and centre. The left are, up in arms about this in America. Surely there's a better approach, is there not?
Actually, no, I don't think so. I think Doge is absolutely necessary because some of the things that have come out that it was funding, taxpayers certainly shouldn't be funding. But if we take it back to climate policy, net zero can only work if two conditions are true. One is if everyone else does it, and clearly they're not. The latest year for which data is available, there was record consumption of coal, oil and gas, record emissions of CO2. And two, CO2 must be the only climate control knob, and we know from looking at IPCC reports, and looking at the data from Greenland ice cores and Antarctic ice cores, that the temperature of the Earth goes up and down even when the carbon dioxide levels are stable. So if neither of those two conditions are met, then net zero is a bad strategy. Now, that's not to say that climate isn't changing, and it's also not to say that we're having some impact on it. But what we should be following instead is a policy of adaptation, which will work regardless of what others do. So clearly China and India and Indonesia and America, who are the largest emitters in the world, are not doing anything about it.
Yes.
So
okay.
we are responsible.
That's just not true, David. It's not true. China's about to take us apart on competition for the energy system of the future.
Well,
it's the one that's building it properly.
We're going to have this debate more and more. So because unfortunately, this breaking news, this is live television. We sometimes have to pivot the show. But David Tombeck, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk more about net zero, I'm sure. But after the break, I'll be speaking to one of the parents who's been affected by Labour's decision to impose VAT on private schools. And I'll also be debating with someone who thinks we should abolish private schools altogether. Stay with GB News.
Hi there, and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Cloudier and breezier weather starts to arrive overnight, so that will mean it's a milder night with less frost around, but it will also lead to increasingly showery weather moving up from the southwest and the west. during Thursday night and into Friday. So a change is on the way after such a sunny and warm day on Thursday. We keep the clear skies for the time being across central, northern and eastern parts of the country, but further south the cloud is gathering, the wind is picking up, and by the end of the night showers will be affecting parts of southwest England, West Wales and Northern Ireland, perhaps even the odd thunderstorm. But these will be hit and miss. For many it is a dry night, but with more of a breeze and more cloud cover, a frost will be more isolated, mostly sheltered parts of northeast Scotland. That's where the brightest skies will be first thing. I think grey skies predominantly across the south and especially the southwest, where some heavy rain will move in early Friday. That will be spreading into South Wales by this stage. Northern Ireland drier for a time with some bright spells, and certainly across much of Scotland it's mostly dry, although with more cloud in the sky compared with recent mornings. That is except for the far north, where we keep some clearer spells. And really it's all changed as we go into the late morning, early afternoon period across western parts of the country. It's turning much more unsettled with the winds picking up, outbreaks of rain or showers affecting many parts of Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, Western England and Wales. Those showers turning up into the south by the afternoon as well. But towards the northeast, that's where the driest and brightest weather will remain. It will be windier, so it will feel cooler, but temperatures still reaching the high teens. Then on Saturday, those spells of rain spread more eastwards, and for many it is an unsettled day with rain or showers. The most persistent rain will affect Scotland and Northern Ireland, perhaps Northern England later on as well. Some heavy downpours out there. Scattered showers in the south, and Sunday's another showery day with a lot of cloud cover, but more settled weather returns on Monday.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. Earlier this month, the government admitted its divisive decision to impose VAT on private schools could lead to as many as 100 private school closures. And it emerged just the other day that St Anselm's Prep School in Bakewell, Derbyshire, which dates back to nearly 140 years ago, is set to close because of the move. I'm now joined by Matt Brailsford, one of the parents at St Anselm's Prep School. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. What's the impact been on yourself and your children as this move to close the school happens?
Yeah, so, well, very much of a shocking decision announced at the start of this week. We were informed on Monday that the school will be closing at the end of the term, at the end of the year. So now we're facing a 4-month decision and choice to relocate children or fight to save the school and keep it open.
What sort of fight would you have to put up to save the school? Is it capital that needs to be raised? Is it perhaps pressure on local politicians, or will you try to change the government's mind? What sort of campaigning are you thinking of doing?
So ordinarily, I think you'd like to attack all three of those vectors if you had the chance to do so. We're presented with a bit more of a uphill challenge, I'd say, with the time that's against us. What we do have, and we've galvanised very quickly in only a few days, a parents group, a support group, the teachers themselves, children's and old Anselmians that are pulling together to galvanise to hopefully solve this problem.
Yeah, this is quite a disturbing thing for a young person to go through right in the middle of their schooling. What sort of impact will it have on your children?
At the moment, I think it's fair to say with our school, we very much believe we've got a really unique school in a special location in Bakewell in Derbyshire. It really is the heart of Derbyshire in a rural community, and some of the now travelable distances to find schools with places to relocate our children can be upwards of an hour, which can mean 4 hours per day for each parent to relocate the children.
Matt, will you be taking your kids to another private school, or are you going to go to state school?
For us, realistically, we would remain in the private schooling sector where possible. That's really because of what we believe that offers the community that we've felt whilst being part of a private school.
Yeah.
But in addition, it needs to be geographically suitable for us, and that's what we have right now. So we will fight to save what we've got.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Please keep us updated on that campaign and see how GB News can obviously help you in that. But thank you for joining and telling us that story, because I think it's one that many will experience across the country. But joining me on my panel now, I've got Conservative MP and Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister Andrew Rosendale and political commentator Kieran Andrew. Kieran, look, you know, a lot of lefties are saying that nothing's happened, that this is not going to have any impact on schooling whatsoever. But that's a lagging indicator, isn't it?
I'm not trying to turn myself into a pantomime villain, but play the world's smallest violin.
Come on, these are kids'
There's no come on. I've told you precisely.
Okay, you might want to take the money out of it. Come on, let's pay respect to the kids who's going to have their education up.
Alex, sir, you asked my opinion. You're not going to appeal to my emotions now, because I mean what I say. Play the world's smallest violin. I'm part of the 93% of the country that went to a state school, and I'm totally in favour of adding VAT to private schools. I find it astonishing that they managed to get away with not having VAT added until now. I also find it astonishing that 50% of them, up until now, have managed to evade paying business rates. They paid 20% of business rates. And it's also astonishing to me that anybody would care about this over things like ceilings falling on pupils in state schools.
Andrew? Well, it's ideological vandalism, and it's harming, actually, working-class children. No, the rich families, they'll just carry on and continue to pay. Up to 280 potential schools could close because of this. And where they're going to go? Into the state sector in the main. And so it's going to harm the state sector. It's going to mean we're going to have to spend more money on state schools. And it's taking that ladder away, that ladder of opportunity for young people to go to really good top schools and come out of it with a great future ahead of them. It's ideological disaster ideologically, and the Labour Party should reverse this policy immediately.
Yeah, well, interesting stuff. There'll be more on that, I'm sure, as that data comes through. Thank you, Andrew and Kieran, for the panel today. Up next, it's Patrick Christie's. Patrick, what's going on your show this evening?
Well, did you know that we are now outsourcing our prison officers to Nigeria, one of the most corrupt countries in the world where bribery is rife? What could go wrong? In an unrelated story, Alex, a manhunt is on the way for a prisoner who's escaped from a prison van. So we're going to be talking about how we catch him. Climate change, that's now racist, which is why I think we are willing to cause a global financial crisis by trying to hit net zero. And residents in Birmingham are chasing bin lorries down the street to try to get their bins taken out. Why are we all paying council tax?
Yeah, binfluencers, I think they're calling them now, Patrick. Great stuff. Sounds like a banging show. That's all coming up after the weather. Matt Goodwin is going to be back tomorrow. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this has been State of the Nation. Thank you very much for joining us. Here's your weather.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Cloudier and breezier weather starts to arrive overnight, so that will mean it's a milder night with less frost around, but it will also lead to increasingly showery weather moving up from the southwest and the west during Thursday night and into Friday. So a change is on the way after such a sunny and warm day on Thursday. We keep the clear skies for the time being across central, northern and eastern parts of the country, but further south the cloud is gathering, the wind is picking up, and by the end of the night showers will be affecting parts of southwest England, West Wales and Northern Ireland, perhaps even the odd thunderstorm. But these will be hit and miss. For many it is a dry night, but with more of a breeze and more cloud cover, a frost will be more isolated, mostly sheltered parts of northeast Scotland. That's where the brightest skies will be first thing. I think grey skies predominantly across the south and especially the southwest, where some heavy rain will move in early Friday. That will be spreading into South Wales by this stage. Northern Ireland drier for a time with some bright spells. And certainly across much of Scotland it's mostly dry, although with more cloud in the sky compared with recent mornings. That is except for the far north where we keep some clearer spells. And really, it's all changed as we go into the late morning, early afternoon period across western parts of the country. It's turning much more unsettled with the winds picking up, outbreaks of rain or showers affecting many parts of Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, Western England and Wales. Those showers turning up into the south by the afternoon as well. But towards the northeast, that's where the driest and brightest weather will remain. It will be windier, so it will feel cooler, but temperatures still reaching the high teens. Then on Saturday, those spells of rain spread more eastwards, and for many it is an unsettled day with rain or showers. The most persistent rain will affect Scotland and Northern Ireland, perhaps Northern England later on as well. Some heavy